The utility bill trembled in my hands as I stared at the address, my name clearly printed above my parents' house, a place I hadn't lived in for months. My stomach dropped as the pieces started clicking together, years of being there for family suddenly taking on a darker shade. I'm Valentina, and until 3 hours ago, I thought I was just the designated black sheep of the Lynch family. You know the type, the one who selfishly moved out, who abandoned her responsibilities, who apparently needed constant reminders about family loyalty, all while my younger sister Gianna sat pretty on her pedestal of perfection. Val, you need to see this. Lindsay's voice cracked as she waved her phone at me from across my tiny new apartment's living room. I was digging through those bank statements you asked about, and, well, just look. I grabbed her phone, scrolling through a series of transfers spanning the last 2 years, each one labeled Rent Gianna, but flowing from my account to my parents' joint account, money I'd never authorized. There's more, Lindsay said softly. Remember all those emergency calls about house repairs? My hands shook as I kept scrolling. Every single crisis, the broken water heater, the roof repairs, the property taxes they'd guilted me into helping with, all of it had my name attached as the primary payer. My phone buzzed. Speaking of the devil, a family group text from Mom. Sunday dinner this week is mandatory. Gianna has exciting news to share, and we need to discuss some family matters. Valentina, please try to be on time for once. I showed Lindsay the message, and she rolled her eyes. You're not actually going, are you? Before I could answer, another text came through, this time just from Gianna. Sis, can't wait to see you Sunday. BTW, did you get the utility bill I forwarded? There might be a mix-up with the names. A mix-up, I repeated flatly, looking at the bill again. Right. My phone rang. Mom again. I put it on speaker. Valentina, why aren't you responding to the group chat? Your sister's been working so hard, taking care of everything at home, while you're off playing independent woman in your new place. The least you could do is acknowledge family messages. Sorry, Mom. I was just looking at some interesting paperwork. Well, whatever it is can wait. We need to discuss your contribution to the family expenses. Your father and I have been talking, and since you're doing so well with your new promotion, I caught Lindsay's eye as she mimicked gagging. Actually, Mom, I'd love to discuss finances on Sunday, in detail, with everyone present. Oh, Mom sounded surprised but pleased. Well, that's very mature of you, sweetheart. Gianna will be so relieved. She's been worried sick about how to bring up certain matters. I bet she has, I muttered after hanging up. Lindsay perched on my secondhand couch, hugging a throw pillow. So what's the plan? Please tell me you're not just going to roll over again. I walked to my bedroom and pulled out a locked box from under my bed. Years of receipts, bank statements, and recorded conversations I'd kept just in case. Just because I played the family doormat didn't mean I was stupid. No, I said, my voice steadier than I felt. I think it's time for a family meeting about financial responsibility and transparency and fraud. Val. Lindsay's eyes widened as I started laying out documents on my coffee table. You know what the worst part is? I laughed, but it came out more like a sob. Last week at dinner, when I mentioned finally having my own place, Yana actually said, with a straight face, some of us put family before selfish desires, and everyone nodded like she was Mother Teresa. My phone buzzed again, a private text from Jonna. Hey sis, just wanted to remind you about those joint account papers you signed last year. Mom's looking for them. Something about updating the beneficiaries. You'll bring them Sunday, right? I never signed any joint account papers. Lindsay, I said quietly, can you help me find a good lawyer? I think my family's been setting me up for something bigger than utility fraud. She was already pulling up her phone contacts. I know just the person. But Val, are you sure you're ready for this fight? It's your family. I looked around my small apartment, the first place that was truly mine, paid for with the money I earned, decorated with the things I chose. Then I looked at the stack of evidence growing on my coffee table, years of manipulation and theft disguised as family obligation. No, I said, picking up the utility bill that had started it all. They stopped being family the moment they decided I was nothing but an ATM with a guilt complex. Look at this, Lindsay said, spreading bank statements across my kitchen counter like a twisted game of solitaire. Every single month, like clockwork. 2,000 for rent, another 1,000 for utilities, and random emergency transfers ranging from $500 to $5,000. I grabbed my laptop, pulling up my tax records. They've been writing off Gianna's rent payments as income on my taxes. That's why my refunds were so low last year. While she lived there completely free, Lindsay finished, her face darkening. And I bet those emergency transfers were probably funding her shopping sprees, I said, remembering all the new designer bags Gianna had been flaunting. Remember last Christmas when Mom called crying about the broken furnace? The same week Gianna posted photos of her Aspen ski trip? My phone lit up with a text from Genesis. Hey V, heard you're coming to Sunday dinner. Been ages since we all hung out like old times. I ignored it, focusing instead on the growing pile of evidence. 3 years of systematic financial abuse, all documented in black and white. Val? Lindsay's voice was hesitant. There's something else you need to see. She handed me her tablet, open to a screenshot of messages between Gianna and my mother. Gianna, she's such an idiot. Actually believed we needed $3,000 for property taxes last month. Mom, don't be cruel, dear. Your sister is generous. We should be grateful. Gianna, please, she owes us after everything we've done for her. Besides, once we get the lawsuit going, Mom, not yet. Wait until after she signs the new documents. My hands were shaking so badly, I nearly dropped the tablet. Lawsuit? What lawsuit? Lindsay was already dialing. Zach, it's Lindsay Hudson. Remember that family law situation we discussed? We need to meet. Today. 2 hours later, I sat in a sleek downtown office, watching Zachary Ward review my documents. His expression grew progressively darker. This is... He paused, adjusting his glasses. This is methodical. The fake rental agreements, the unauthorized account access, the tax implications. They've been building a paper trail to make it look like you've been voluntarily supporting them. But why? I asked. They're already getting money from me. Because, he said, holding up a particularly damning bank statement, based on these messages and documents, they're planning to sue you for permanent financial support. They're establishing a pattern of dependency. My laugh came out hollow. They can't do that. I'm the child. They're the parents. Family support obligations can go both ways in certain circumstances, Zach explained. If they can prove you've been willingly supporting them and they've become dependent on that support, well, it's not unheard of. My phone buzzed again. Gianna, hey sis, quick favor. Can you sign these insurance forms Mom's sending over? Just routine stuff. Don't sign anything, Zach said sharply, seeing the message. In fact, don't respond at all. We need to move quickly, but carefully. What's the plan? Lindsay asked, squeezing my hand. First, we document everything. Bank records, text messages, emails. Anything showing this was done without your knowledge or consent. Then we prepare cease and desist letters and demands for repayment. Repayment, I echoed. They've essentially stolen hundreds of thousands from you through fraud. That's criminal. Zach stated flatly. The question is, how far do you want to take this? Another text buzzed through. Mom this time. Sweetheart, don't forget Sunday dinner. Gianna's making your favorite lasagna. We have some exciting family plans to discuss. I thought about years of guilt trips, of being called selfish while working overtime to support their lies, of Gianna's smug smile every time she played the devoted daughter while spending my money. All the way, I said, my voice firm. I want it all documented, all legal, and all on record. It won't be pretty, Zach warned. Family lawsuits never are. They stopped being family when they started seeing me as a walking ATM, I replied, echoing my words to Lindsay. I just need to prove it. Then let's get to work, he said, pulling out a fresh legal pad. Tell me everything, from the beginning. And Valentina, remember, you're not just fighting for your money back, you're fighting for your freedom. As I began recounting years of financial manipulation, my phone lit up one final time. Genesis again. V, please respond. Gianna's worried you're acting weird. We just want to help. I turned my phone off completely, focusing instead on the legal pad in front of me. They wanted to play games with legal documents? Fine, let's see how they handled real ones. The message thread between my mother and sister filled my laptop screen, each new text making me feel sicker than the last. Lindsay sat beside me, her hand steady on my shoulder as we scrolled through years of deception. Mom, Valentina agreed to cover the property taxes again. Should cover your car payment this month. Gianna, perfect. Did you use the usual excuse about Dad's medical bills? Mom, of course. Your sister's so gullible when it comes to family emergencies. Almost makes it too easy. Gianna, just wait until we get the lawsuit going. With all these payment records, she'll be funding our retirement. I can't read anymore, I whispered, pushing away from the desk. How long have they been planning this? Lindsay grabbed my phone as it buzzed. Another message from Genesis. V, please call me. Everyone's worried about you. Gianna says you've been acting strange. Don't respond, Lindsay warned, but I was already snatching the phone. Genesis is worried about me? Really? I typed back. Ask her about the family emergency funds. Ask her where that money really went. The response came quickly. What are you talking about? Look, just come to dinner on Sunday. We can sort everything out as a family. As a family? I repeated out loud, my laugh borderline hysterical. Sure, let's talk about family. Let's talk about how my sister used my emergency money for her Bahamas vacation last spring. My phone rang, Genesis calling. Against my better judgment, I answered on speaker. V, you're being paranoid, Genesis started. Gianna told me you've been making weird accusations. Weird accusations? I cut in. I have the receipts, Genesis, the bank statements, the text messages. Want to see them? Want to see how they've been laughing about stealing from me for years? Silence on the other end. Then quietly, they said you were just helping out. That's what family does. Did they tell you about the lawsuit they're planning? About how they've been building a case to force me into permanent financial support? More silence. Then, maybe. Maybe they have their reasons. You make good money, V, and family. Stop saying that word, I snapped. Family doesn't steal. Family doesn't conspire. Family doesn't. My voice broke. Lindsay grabbed the phone. Genesis, this is Lindsay. Unless you're calling to tell V about all the times you knew they were scamming her and didn't say anything, this conversation is over. She hung up, then pulled me into a fierce hug as I finally broke down. They never loved me, I sobbed into her shoulder. I was just their personal bank account. Then it's time to close that account, she said firmly, permanently. My phone buzzed again, Gianna sending a group text. Sunday dinner menu planning. Val, bringing your famous tiramisu. Also, Mom needs you to stop by tomorrow to sign some papers for the house insurance. Just routine stuff. I showed Lindsay the message. They're still trying to set me up. Of course they are, she replied. They don't know that you know, which means we have an advantage, I finished, wiping my eyes. I called Zach. Perfect timing, he answered. I've finished reviewing everything. Your family's been running a pretty sophisticated fraud scheme. We have more than enough for criminal charges, but I'm guessing you'd prefer to handle this civilly. For now, I said. What's our next move? We document everything, prepare our case, and wait. You said there's a family dinner Sunday? Yes, they're expecting me to sign more documents. Good. Go, act normal, record everything if you can. The more evidence we have of their intentions, the stronger our position when we move legally. After hanging up, I stared at the latest text from my mother. Sweetheart, don't forget to bring your checkbook Sunday. The house needs some repairs, and since you're doing so well, Lindsay read over my shoulder. You okay? I thought about all the times I'd skip lunch to save money for their emergencies, all the overtime I'd worked to cover their urgent needs, all while they laughed and plotted behind my back. No, I admitted, but I will be. Sunday dinner's gonna be interesting. Want me to come as backup? I shook my head. I need to do this alone. Besides, I managed a small smile, I should give an Oscar-worthy performance as the dutiful daughter one last time. My phone lit up with another group text, photos of Gianna at the mall, showing off expensive shopping bags. Early birthday presents from mom and dad. So blessed to have such generous parents. Generous with my money, I thought, but didn't respond. Sunday was coming. Let them think they still had their cash cow under control. The slaughterhouse papers were already being drawn up. The familiar scent of Mom's garlic bread hit me as I walked into my childhood home, carrying the tiramisu I'd made on autopilot. Everything looked the same. Family photos on the walls, fresh flowers on the entry table, Gianna's designer purse carelessly tossed on the coat rack. A purse that probably cost 3 of my emergency payments. There's my girl! Mom rushed forward to hug me. I forced myself to hug back, remembering Zach's advice. Act natural. Gather evidence. We've missed you so much. Sorry I've been busy, I said, managing a smile. Work's been crazy. Oh, speaking of work. Mom's eyes lit up with that familiar predatory gleam. Your father and I were just discussing. Let her breathe, Mom, Gianna interrupted, sweeping in wearing a new outfit I definitely recognized from her recent shopping spree. Dinner's almost ready anyway. Genesis arrived just as we were sitting down, avoiding my eyes as she took her seat. The table was set with Mom's best china, always a warning sign that they wanted something. Before we eat, Dad cleared his throat. We have some family business to discuss. Can't it wait until after dinner? Genesis asked quickly. Interesting. She seemed nervous. Actually, Gianna smiled sweetly. It's pretty exciting news. Mom and Dad are thinking of early retirement. I took a careful sip of water. Oh, that's sudden. Well, Mom beamed, we've been so blessed with such successful daughters. Speaking of which, those insurance papers I mentioned. Of course! I reached into my bag, noting how they all leaned forward eagerly. I pulled out a folder, not the one they'd sent, but one that looked similar. I brought them with me. Such a good girl, Mom praised, reaching for the folder. I held on to it. Actually, I had some questions about the account transfers first. The temperature in the room seemed to drop 10 degrees. Gianna's fork clattered against her plate. Transfers? Dad frowned. What transfers? The monthly rent payments, I said casually, and the emergency funds. I was reviewing my accounts and noticed some discrepancies. Oh, those are just routine, Mom waved dismissively. Family helping family. Now, about these papers. Funny thing about family helping family, I continued, serving myself some lasagna. I was talking to my bank about setting up some new accounts, and they mentioned something interesting about unauthorized transfers. Gianna's face went slightly pale. Val, don't be difficult. We can discuss boring financial stuff later. Actually, Dad cut in, this might be a good time to mention, I've been talking to a lawyer friend about setting up some formal arrangements. To make sure everything stays fair and legal. A lawyer? I widened my eyes innocently. What kind? Just someone who handles family matters, Mom said quickly. Financial planning, that sort of thing. Speaking of which, the house needs some repairs. Again? I asked. Didn't we just fix the roof last month with my emergency transfer? Genesis suddenly became very interested in her wine glass. Well, Gianna's voice took on that martyred tone I knew so well. Some of us have been here taking care of things, while others have been off living their own lives. Taking care of things, I repeated, like your Bahamas trip or that new Gucci bag. Dead silence fell over the table. Mom's knuckles went white around her fork. I don't know what you're implying, she said stiffly, but after everything we've done for you, everything you've done for me, I laughed, or everything you've done to me. That's enough. Dad slammed his hand on the table. We're family. Family supports each other, and sometimes that means making sacrifices, like sacrificing my savings to fund Gianna's shopping sprees. I pulled out my phone, scrolling through screenshots. Or sacrificing my tax returns for your fake rental agreements. How dare you? Mom started, but I cut her off. No, how dare you? Did you really think I wouldn't figure it out? The fraud, the theft, the lawsuit you're planning? Gianna's face went from pale to ashen. Genesis suddenly found her napkin fascinating. Now listen here. Dad's voice shook slightly. We should discuss this with our lawyer present, just to make sure things stay fair. Oh, don't worry. I stood up, leaving my dinner untouched. We'll definitely be discussing this with lawyers present very soon. Val, wait. Genesis reached for my arm. I jerked away. Just don't. I turned to face my family one last time. Enjoy your dinner and your retirement plans. I hear fraud charges can really complicate those. As I walked out, I heard Mom's shrill voice. She's bluffing. She wouldn't dare. I smiled grimly, pulling out my phone to text Zach. It's done. They took the bait. Time for phase 2. They've been busy, Zach said, spreading new documents across his desk. 3 attempts to add your name to their home equity loan, 2 credit card applications in your name, and, this is my personal favorite, a draft lawsuit claiming you've abandoned your familial duties. How did you get all this? I asked, scanning the papers. Let's just say your family's lawyer friend isn't as discreet as they think. He held up a thick folder. Or as competent. These documents are a goldmine of fraud evidence. Lindsay, who'd insisted on coming to the meeting, leaned forward. So what's our next move? We go nuclear, Zach stated flatly. We have enough evidence to file criminal charges, but first, he was interrupted by my phone buzzing. Gianna, we need to talk now. What you did at dinner was cruel and ungrateful. Mom's been crying for days. Don't respond, Zach warned, but another message popped up. Mom, your father and I raised you better than this. After everything we've sacrificed, meet us tomorrow, 3 p.m. Bring your financial documents. They're still trying to trap you, Lindsay observed. No, Zach smiled grimly. They're panicking. Look at this message from their lawyer to your father. He slid another paper across the desk. I read it aloud. Strongly advise against any further financial dealings with Valentina. Evidence of previous transactions could be problematic if scrutinized. They know they're caught, Zach explained. Now they're trying to damage control, which makes this the perfect time to strike. He pulled out a stack of official-looking documents. Cease and desist letters, demands for repayment, and my personal favorite, a detailed record of every fraudulent transaction they've made using your information. How much? I asked quietly. Total? Just over $400,000 over the past 3 years, not counting interest or legal fees. My phone buzzed again. Genesis this time. V, please, They're talking about selling the house. This is getting out of hand. Good, Lindsay said fiercely. Let them sell it. They can use that money to pay you back. It's not about the money, I said, but Zach cut me off. Actually, it is about the money, and the fraud, and the attempted lawsuit, and every other scheme they've tried to pull. He leaned forward. Valentina, they're not gonna stop. People like this never do, not unless they're forced to. As if proving his point, another text came through from Gianna. If you don't meet us tomorrow, we'll have no choice but to take legal action. Don't force us to do this. Perfect, Zach said, reading the message. That's exactly what we needed. A threat in writing. He pressed a button on his desk phone. Sarah, bring in the filing papers, all of them. His secretary appeared with another stack of documents. These need to be filed today, he told her. Priority processing. What are those? I asked. Your counterattack, restraining orders, financial protection orders, and a lovely little civil suit that will freeze their assets until this is resolved. My phone lit up again. Dad this time. This isn't how family handles things. Come home. We can work this out. Family, I laughed bitterly. They keep using that word. Focus, Zach said sharply. We need to move fast. They're going to try something desperate soon. People like this always do. Right on cue, my phone buzzed with a final message from Mom. If you don't show up tomorrow, we'll tell everyone what really happened with that money from Grandma's estate. How you stole it. We have proof. They're bluffing, Lindsay said quickly. Right? I showed Zach the message. He smiled. Actually smiled. They just made our job much easier. Threatening blackmail via text? Amateur hour. What do we do now? Now? He gathered the documents into neat piles. Now we let the legal system do its work. The cease and desist letters go out today. The asset freeze hits tomorrow morning. And then he checked his watch. I believe they wanted to meet at 3 p.m. I think I'll crash that party. You're coming to the meeting? Oh, I wouldn't miss it. Neither will the financial crimes investigator I invited. He handed me a final document. Sign here. It's time to show your family exactly what happens when they try to defraud the wrong person. As I signed, my phone lit up one last time. A group text from Gianna to the whole family. Emergency family meeting tomorrow at 3. Valentina, if you ever cared about this family at all, you'll be there with all your documents. Don't make us do this the hard way. I looked at Zach. They have no idea what's coming, do they? No, he said, filing the signed papers. But they're about to find out. I arrived at the local Starbucks 10 minutes early, choosing a table with clear sight lines to both exits. Zach and the investigator were parked across the street, waiting for my signal. My family didn't know that part yet. Gianna arrived first, wearing her most expensive outfit, the one she saved for manipulating people. Val, she said softly, sliding into the seat across from me. I'm so glad you came. Where are Mom and Dad? I thought we should talk first. Sister to sister? She reached across the table, trying to take my hand. I pulled back. About what? The fraud, the theft, or the lawsuit you're planning? Don't be dramatic, she sighed. We're family. Sometimes families share resources. Share? Is that what you call forging my signature on bank documents? Her eyes narrowed slightly. I don't know what you think you found, but save it. I cut her off. I have copies of everything. The transfers, the fake rental agreements, the credit card applications, everything. For just a second, fear flickered across her face. Then her mask slipped back into place. Val, you're not seeing the bigger picture. Mom and Dad need help. They're getting older. And that's my problem because they raised us, she snapped, mask cracking. They gave us everything. They gave you everything, I corrected, using my money. You're being selfish. No, I interrupted. I'm being smart, finally. I pulled out my phone, showing her the banking app. Want to see something interesting? Those emergency transfers you used for your Aspen trip? They're being reversed. Fraud department's really efficient these days. Her face went pale. You can't. Already did, along with every other unauthorized transfer from the past 3 years. Oh, and those credit cards you opened in my name? Fraud department's handling those too. Val, please. Her voice took on that familiar pleading tone. If you just listen. To what? More lies? More guilt trips? Or are you going to threaten me with that fake evidence about Grandma's estate? She flinched. How did you? Mom's not great at keeping texts private. I stood up. Where are they, by the way? Too scared to face me? They're coming, she said quickly. We just, we need to work something out first, before things get ugly. Ugly? I laughed. Like stealing hundreds of thousands from your own sister? Like planning to sue me for lifetime support? We never meant, save it for the judge, I cut her off, watching Mom and Dad hurry through the door. Perfect timing. Valentina, Mom started, all tearful eyes and trembling lips. We've been so worried. Sit down, I said coldly. All of you. They exchanged glances but complied. Dad pulled out a folder. We brought some papers. More fraud documents? I asked pleasantly. More fake contracts? Or is this the lawsuit you've been planning? How dare you? Mom's voice rose. After everything we've done. Everything you've done is documented, I interrupted, pulling out my phone. Want to see? The texts about stealing my money? The forged signatures? The fake emergencies? We can explain, Dad started. To them? I asked, nodding toward the door where Zach and the investigator were walking in. Please, explain away. The color drained from all their faces as Zach approached, briefcase in hand. The investigator followed, badge visible on her belt. What is this? Gianna whispered. This? I smiled. This is what happens when you try to defraud someone who keeps receipts. You called the police? Mom's voice cracked. No, Zach answered, pulling up a chair. She called me. The police involvement was my call. Shall we discuss the federal charges first, or would you prefer to start with the civil suit? Civil suit? Dad stammered. Now wait just a minute. 400,000 in fraudulent transfers, Zach continued calmly, plus interest, plus damages, plus criminal charges for identity theft and financial fraud. Unless what? Gianna demanded. I pulled out a document, the one Zach had prepared. Unless you sign this, full repayment, no contact order, complete separation of all financial ties. You can't be serious, Mom gasped. Oh, I am. I stood up. Sign now or we do this the ugly way. Your choice. They stared at the papers, then at each other. The investigator cleared her throat meaningfully. Tick-tock, I said softly. What's it gonna be? Family loyalty or federal charges? Dad reached for the pen first. Sometimes karma doesn't just come around. It brings friends with badges and law degrees. You're making a huge mistake. Mom's voice trembled as she stared at the signed documents. We're your family. Family doesn't steal hundreds of thousands of dollars, I replied calmly. Family doesn't forge signatures or plan lawsuits. We had no choice, Gianna burst out. You were being so selfish, moving out, living your own life, while funding yours, I cut in. How much did that Bahamas trip cost, Gianna? The one you took right after telling me Dad needed emergency surgery money? The investigator, Detective Martinez, cleared her throat. Ms. Gianna, I'd advise you to stop talking. You're already facing serious charges. Charges? Mom's face went from red to white. But we signed the papers. The civil agreement, Zach corrected. The criminal investigation is separate. Unless, he glanced at me, unless you come clean, I finished. Right now, about everything. Dad slumped in his chair. It started small, he admitted. Just a few transfers here and there. Gianna needed help with her car payment. So you stole from me? Borrowed, Mom interjected. We were going to pay it back. With what money? Detective Martinez asked. The lawsuit you were planning to force your daughter into lifetime support payments? Gianna burst into tears, the fake ones she'd perfected since childhood. You're ruining everything. We were happy before you started causing problems. You were happy spending my money, I corrected, living in a house I was unknowingly paying for, buying designer clothes with my emergency transfers. I deserve those things, she shouted, mask finally cracking completely. I was the one who stayed. I was the one who played the perfect daughter while you ran off to live your selfish life. Perfect daughter? I laughed. Is that what you call helping them commit fraud? The cafe had gone quiet, other customers staring at our table. Zach slid another document forward. Full confession, he said quietly. Sign it and we can discuss reducing the charges. Reducing? Mom's voice cracked. What charges exactly? Detective Martinez pulled out her notebook. Identity theft, wire fraud, financial exploitation, conspiracy to commit fraud. Would you like me to continue? Dad's hands shook as he reached for the confession. We just wanted to steal from your daughter, I finished, to drain her accounts, to trap her into supporting you forever. We're your parents, Mom wailed. We gave you life. And a lifetime of therapy bills, I muttered. Just then, Genesis burst into the cafe. Stop, please, everyone just stop. Genesis? Gianna's eyes lit up with hope. Tell them how we were just trying to help the family. Genesis looked between us, tears in her eyes. I can't lie anymore, Gianna. Show them. She pulled out her phone, displaying a group chat I'd never seen before. Messages between her, Gianna, and my parents, planning everything, the fake emergencies, the forged documents, the lawsuit strategy. I'm so sorry, Val, Genesis whispered. I should have told you sooner. Mom lunged for the phone, but Detective Martinez was faster. Evidence tampering would be another charge, she warned. You knew? Gianna stared at Genesis. You knew she was gathering evidence? I've known for weeks, Genesis admitted. Ever since I saw the lawsuit drafts. This has to stop. Dad quietly picked up the pen and started signing the confession. Mom began sobbing, real tears this time. What happens now? Gianna asked, her voice small. Now? Zach gathered the signed documents. Now you start paying back every dollar you stole. You comply with the no contact order, and you pray the judge is feeling merciful about the criminal charges. But where will we live? Mom cried. How will we survive? Should have thought about that before you committed fraud, Detective Martinez said, standing. We'll be in touch about your court dates. As they were led out, Gianna turned back one last time. Val, please, we can fix this. No, I said quietly. We can't. You didn't just steal my money, Gianna. You stole my trust, my peace of mind, my belief in family. I'm sorry, Genesis whispered as they left, for everything. I watched through the window as Detective Martinez spoke with my family outside. Mom was still crying. Dad looked broken. Gianna was frantically texting someone, probably her own lawyer. You okay? Lindsay asked, appearing beside me. She'd been watching from another table the whole time. No, I admitted, but I will be. Want to get out of here? I nodded, gathering my copies of the signed documents. Yeah, I think I've had enough family time to last a lifetime. As we left, I blocked their numbers one by one. Sometimes the price of peace is burning bridges you never should have had to cross in the first place. The morning sun warmed my tiny balcony as I sipped my coffee, enjoying the peaceful silence of my apartment. A notification pinged on my phone, another bank alert showing a repayment installment from my parents. They'd been forced to sell the house, downsize dramatically, and Gianna had to get her first real job. My doorbell rang. Lindsay stood there with breakfast bagels and a newspaper. "You made the financial crime section," she announced, spreading the paper on my counter. "Local family fraud ring exposed. Guess your story's helping other people spot similar scams." "Good," I said, scanning the article. "Maybe it'll help someone else avoid what I went through." My phone buzzed. Genesis calling. I let it go to voicemail. She'd been trying to reconnect, sending messages about how she was also in therapy now, how she understood what she'd done wrong. Maybe someday I'd be ready to hear it, not today. "Speaking of what you went through," Lindsay nodded toward a large envelope on my counter. "Is that what I think it is?" "Yep. Final settlement confirmation. Every penny they stole, plus interest, plus legal fees." I pulled out the documents. Zach says the judge was especially angry about the fake rental agreements. "Have you heard from any of them?" "They can't contact me directly. Court order. But I heard through the grapevine that Gianna's working retail now. Apparently, designer bags aren't so fun when you're on the other side of the counter." Lindsay snorted. "Karma's a beautiful thing." My laptop pinged, an email notification. Another victim of family financial fraud had reached out after reading the article. That made 5 this week. "You should do it," Lindsay said, reading over my shoulder. "Start that support group Zach suggested. Help other people fight back." "Maybe," I mused. "It would be nice to turn all this awfulness into something positive." My phone buzzed again, this time with a text from Detective Martinez. "Thought you'd want to know. Your sister's credit card fraud charges stuck. She's doing community service and financial counseling." "Good," Lindsay declared. "Maybe she'll learn something about honest work." I walked back out to my balcony, looking at the small but peaceful space I'd created. No more midnight emergency calls, no more guilt-ridden transfers, no more fake family obligations. "You know what the weirdest part is?" I said as Lindsay joined me. "I actually sleep now, like really sleep. No more anxiety about what crisis they'll invent next." "Because you're free," she replied simply. "You cut out the poison." Another email notification pinged. Someone else reaching out about family fraud. This one attached court documents showing an eerily similar pattern to what my family had done. "Okay," I decided, opening my laptop. "Let's do it. Let's start the support group. Maybe call it Family Fraud Survivors or something." "Perfect timing, too," Lindsay grinned. "Since you're getting that promotion next week, more resources to help others fight back." I smiled, remembering how I'd finally accepted the senior position I'd been avoiding, the one that required travel and wouldn't let me be at my family's beck and call, 24/7. My phone lit up with a final notification, an update from Zach. "Judge denied their appeal. No contact order stands. You're officially and permanently free." "How does it feel?" Lindsay asked softly. "Being done with them?" I looked around my peaceful home, at the career I could now fully embrace, at the future stretching out before me, one without manufactured emergencies or guilt-fueled theft. It feels, I searched for the right word, clean, like I can finally breathe. "Then let's celebrate," she declared, pulling out 2 champagne flutes, "to freedom, to peace, and to helping others find their way out too." As we clinked glasses, I glanced at my phone one last time before turning it off completely. There was a final text from Genesis. "I understand if you never forgive us. Just know I'm sorry, and I'm testifying in another family fraud case next week. You inspired me to help stop this from happening to others." I smiled slightly, turning back to Lindsay and our impromptu celebration. Sometimes the best family isn't the one you're born into, it's the one you choose. And sometimes the greatest revenge isn't just getting justice, It's helping others find theirs too. To freedom, I echoed, raising my glass to the morning sun. The light caught the crystal, scattering rainbow patterns across my walls. My home, my life, finally, truly mine.